This is take two. I've been pulling apart the Nissan Patrol G60. We'll get to the pistons and all the crap there in a second. And the crankshaft. The first question, and the most important one, is which bits are usable? Well, it's got scoring in number 2 cylinder. It's only very light and not very deep, so it's not going to show up, but I could feel. I didn't even look. I just felt it with my hand. So it's scored, but not very badly. So it should machine up. Has this thing ever been bored? No. I don't own a micrometer as such, a bore micrometer, but I've stuck the vernier caliper in the top of the cylinder, and it, in case you're going to, comment and say, oh, it won't get down very far. Yes, I know that, but it will still tell me if it's been bored, and it does actually get to the area where the rings have been, which the dark bit at the top of the block, that's, or the dark bit at the top of the cylinder, that's where the rings don't get to, just where it's piston crown. The vernier just gets below that, so yes, it will get to it, yes, it will measure it, no, not accurately, but it will tell me accurately enough to tell me A, yes, they do need reboring because they're out of tolerance, and B, it's never actually been machined. So I'm gonna have the block bored anyway. None of the main bearings have ever spun, and the reason is because they're doweled to the actual bearing caps, which I'll show you in a sec. Now, has the crankshaft ever been machined? No. How do I know that? And it took me a lot of stuffing around before to get this to work because the camera didn't like it. This is a Conrod big end bearing. The camera doesn't like focusing on the smallest thing in the picture. It's called Matrix, where it focuses on a whole area. There you go. So it's an ACL brand bearing and it's standard. It's got a serial number on there too, but STD means standard. If it's plus 0.5 millimeter, I think it goes 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter. I think there are 3 undersized bearings. So yeah, that's how you tell if the crank's ever been machined. Because obviously, if it's been machined, they've got to put a bearing in there that's, got a smaller diameter. So yeah, the bearings are screwed. Like, I knew they were in the first place. It's not going to want to focus on this, but I see dirt embedded in the surface of this bearing. I'm also on the surface of the bearing because it's not clean, because I've chucked them all on the ground. I'd say it's had oil starvation at one point, not very badly, but this is the fairly big thrust bearing to take up the crankshaft end float. It's actually made of bronze, but it's got the white metal on the surface, of course. The adjustment for that, and I haven't pulled the gear off, yes, I'm naughty, but the adjustment for that is a shim, which doesn't even look like the gear's hard on. Looks like it's kind of come forward a bit, which is no surprise. So you just put a smaller shim in there if you want to take up the clearance. Like I said, you can obviously see it's not hard up against it, and that's because I've been doing things to it. It's just bolts and a really filthy sump. The shit in the bottom has got a lot of dirt in it, and it's no surprise because the air cleaner didn't really seal properly to the carburetor. It was missing the seal completely. This is a piston ring. This is off number 3 piston. It's dirty because I've been handling it. Okay. Everyone's familiar with a piston ring. Or if you're not, you are now. This is the assembled unit. This is number 5. If the camera wants to focus, this is number 5 piston and Conrod assembly. Yeah, it's not going to focus, just believe me. It's a very interesting way of constructing a piston for a petrol engine, but there you go. It's got steel reinforcement plates. That's got the 2 holes in it up the sides of the piston, and the skirts of the piston are floating from the top of the piston, or more or less the crown, which is very, very interesting. They're flat tops, of course. Aha, here comes the interesting bit. There are 2 cylinders, or 3 out of the 6 are interesting and the rest aren't. Number 2 piston, that's the crown, and it's obviously got bits missing. Now this ring is off this piston, okay? But the top ring, there's no parts of it left. Now that's gone, and I'd say it exited by the holes there, and you can see that the very top of the crown looks like it's about to separate. Hence that line there, the crease, because it shouldn't be there. So I'd say this was very close to separating at some point. Now, this is number 3 piston, as denoted by the number stamped there. The top ring's gone. The shim is there, not completely, but it is there partially. It's got some very interesting damage there. The top of the piston looks fine. It doesn't look like it's got any damage at all without actually cleaning it. So that's screwed. Piss that off out of the way. That's the top ring out of number 3 piston. I don't know why it's in pieces like that, but I'm going to just say that it probably broke a ring and for some reason never scored the cylinder. There's no scores at all in it. No scoring, I should say. And it's just smashed. Like, the ring is just, when that damn truck goes past, the ring is just in pieces. Now, I know that it's been driven quite a lot after that happened. And how do I know that? Well, I know that, and it's not going to focus because the end of these bits, the bits of these rings that are the ends of them, are shiny and almost polished. Now that tells me they've been moving around in there a lot, and so it's probably done. To be honest, I'd say it's done maybe 5 or 10,000 Ks like that at least. Okay, so they're the 2 interesting pistons. Now number 5 piston. Something that's straight away obvious. Look at the colour of the big end on this. See, it's a really dark colour. Now that's number 3. See, it's a happy kind of colour. It's just sort of, it's pretty normal. Even the sides of that conrod are very normal in colour. Number 3 isn't normal at all. Number 6, sorry. If I could remember which bloody cylinder I'm working on. See, it's black. Without even pulling a bottom end of a motor apart, right, or the bottom end of an engine apart, without even taking off the bearing caps, if you see, I mean, all the conrods should look fairly similar in colour. You know, one shouldn't be really dark and the other's sort of a lighter colour. Now I know they're all dirty, but again, number 1, right? If the damn camera will focus. See, it's kind of a happy lighter colour. Right, even the side there, if it would ever focus, see, it's lighter in colour, right? Light in colour. Well, you go to number 6. See, it's been very, very hot, very, very hot. Now, number 6, bearing shells. Now, this is the first bearing shell. If it wants to focus, it's number 6. It's dark in colour and the overlay is completely wiped out. I'll clean this up actually because it is interesting, especially if you've never had a rooted engine apart. Now the overlay is completely wiped out and in places gone. It has gone through the white metal and I'm going to repeat myself because of that damn train. It's gone through the white metal and it's exposed steel. Now where it's exposed steel is near the end of the shell in the left of the frame. It's slightly shiny and silver. That's actually gone down to the backing, down to the actual steel, because they're steel shells that they dip in. Now I'm going to get this wrong so don't blast my head off, but it's steel first, which is the actual what it's made of, the shell. Then they dip it in copper, and I think it's dipped in white metal. That could be it, but I was sure there was more steps. It could be copper, white metal, a bit of copper and a bit more white metal, something like that. Someone correct me, someone's going to know. But see, it's a very unpleasant dark colour, it's not nice at all. And the back of it, clean the back of it up. See the back of the bearing? It's a very, very unhappy looking black colour. Right, now just for comparison, this is out of number 6 and that's out of, I don't know which number, but another cylinder. See, look at that. It's completely black, like it's been really, really hot. Also note there's a small particle of copper that's actually been melted and is sitting in one of those oil transfer holes. I think they have those on both shells. The shells are both identical, so top and bottom shell are identical. Just a freighter, not actually that interesting. Now this is the other half of the shell for number 6. This is the conrod side, not the bearing cap side. But again, it's, if I can clean it off properly, it's that same unhappy dark colour. Now note to the sides of the bearing shells, there's actually got the copper backing material, or should I say the first coat, the first thing that goes on the shell, on the bare steel shell. It's actually melted and it's come all the way off. So that's all the way down to the backer, which is steel. So it's, I'm not, now why has this happened? Well, to be honest, I've no idea why it happened. I would say it's probably spun a bearing, only that the tab is still there. The locating tab, still there on the bearing shell. See? It's not going to focus. Now that locating tab is still there, still sticking out. So and the crankshaft actually looks okay too. You go to number 6, a bit hard to see, but it's dirty now because it's got, you know, crap from the ground on it, but it's actually not that bad. Now I don't know what it's going to measure up like, but you know, I'd say it's probably fine. The crank just needs a grind. But it looks like the shell's had some kind of failure. Like it's obviously been hot, but it's got dirt embedded in the surface of the bearing shell too. But so this is a question I'm gonna pose to the machinist. I'm gonna ask him why he thinks this has happened. But I reckon the first thing that's gone wrong is it's old. The engine's worn. But the whole story is probably something along the lines of, you know, a combination of factors. It's worn, it's high mileage, someone's, you know, ran the hell out of this engine, they've really loaded it up, they've probably been off-road, probably been on a big hill, and the oil's it probably had not enough oil in it. The oil's probably ran away from the oil pump, which should never happen, but it obviously has. They must have gone up like a 45-degree slope or something. Really, really big slope it's gone up, I'd say. The oil's run away from the pump, they've revved the hell out of it, and it started cooking all the bearings. Because every single bearing in the motor doesn't quite look right, even for a worn bearing. Like, if you look at that, the overlay has started to be wiped out. Like, see how it's all sort of started to be almost scuffed off the bearing shell? They're all like that, every single one. Now the mains aren't quite as bad, but they're a much larger bearing. This is a main bearing, this one's pretty bad, but some of the mains are sort of alright. But yeah, this is my little, you know, project. This is what, so like I said, some of the mains are not too bad. Like this is the big thrust bearing, and you can see that it's started to wipe out the overlay on this, but it's nowhere near as bad. I wouldn't expect it to be because it's such a large bearing. But yeah, there you go, guys and girls. If there's any watching, feel free to comment, whatever.